Okay, so today we're going to go over how to do the triangle, aka half of the square, for the octagonal winter pattern. Now there are two methods in order to get this done. One is the crochet and turn method, which I've done for part of this sample, and then the other way is to cut your ends as you go like you would with regular mosaic crochet, and then sew the ends in after. Now the yarns I have with me today would be Red Heart Comfort and Super Saver. All right, this one is in, oh, excuse my writing here, Patty Green, and then this is a white and black fleck. All right, let me get my ends here. All right, so for the triangle, we're going to show both methods, but on the same piece. I will leave the sample out and visible so that it's easier to see what we are doing. And I have my Susan Bates 5mm hook and just a pair of scissors. Okay, so I am using green as the contrast color, so we're going to start with that. And we're going to make that magic loop. Again, you're going to have the ends facing towards you, pinch, twist, and then pull that short end through. And we have a magic loop. Okay, now, single crochet 5 times into this magic loop, okay? First one doesn't count, then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, now you could, in theory, cut yarn here and start fresh over here. If you're doing the cut and turn method, I'm actually just going to continue from the back side as it doesn't really impact it too much as far as the final appearance. So we're going to attach our new yarn here. I'm going to pull those ends tight. Gets a little finicky in the beginning, but it gets better. Chain 1. And your first stitch is going to go into that same stitch that you just chained with, okay? So our first stitch is a back loop only single crochet. We actually are going to put 2 in this first stitch because it's half of a corner technically. So each one as you go up is kind of half of a corner, but this one is a full corner, if that makes sense. Okay, so we had 2 single crochet in that first stitch. And we're going to do 1 regular single crochet in the back loop. Then we have our full corner, so this is going to be back loop only single crochet, chain 1, back loop only single crochet. Now we have 1 more back loop only single crochet, and then we're going to finish with that half corner, which is 2 in this last loop of the back loop only single crochet. All right, so this first half I'm going to show you with the cut and turn, or the cut method. And then what we will do for the second half is I will show you the turning method. Let's cut both of these. All right, so you can already see we're getting a lot of ends that are showing up here. All right, so we're going to attach our yarn to that first stitch right here so you can see that better. I've been out in the garden, so I apologize. I have some dirt on my fingers. Okay. So we've attached our first stitch. Oops. Gonna attach with a standing single crochet to lock in that end. Okay, so in that same first stitch is where you have your half corner. So for row 2, we have 2 back loop only single crochets. So back loop only single crochet, back loop only. Then we have 3 front stitches, so it's kind of hard to tell where there's going to go, right? So your first one's going to go back in that first single crochet on your magic loop. So 1 there, 1 in the next one. And your third one's going to go where you put that corner last time, so 3 right here. Now we have our corner, which is back loop only single crochet, chain 1, back loop only single crochet. Now if you ever find that you're getting lost as to what your count is, you can always take a peek on the previous row and see that we skipped 1, 2, 3 stitches for 3 front loop only double crochets. All right, so this is gonna mimic here. So we've got 3 front loop only single crochets. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now we have, so that covers 1, 2, 3. So with this last stitch is where we do our half corner, 2 back loop only single crochets, 1, 2, and that would be the next row done. Now, one note when you're doing those corners here is these 2 front loop only double crochets are actually sharing the same space down here, just as a heads up. All right, so these edges are getting a little unruly, so I'm going to show you how to do it where you flip your work and go backwards so that you don't have to have so many ends that you're dealing with. Okay, so we're going to attach our next color, which is our white. That's standing, oh my goodness, single crochet. Okay, so the start of this one is again a half corner of 2 single crochets. So we got 1, 2. It's getting a little loose up here. All right, now we have 5 back loop only single crochets, and then we do our corner. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's perfect. We are at our chain space from the chain stitch from the previous round. All right, we are going to do a regular corner, and we have another 5 back loop only single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in our last stitch, we do our half corner here, so that's 2 back loop only single crochets. Now I'm going to tug the loop long here so it doesn't undo while I'm crocheting the next round, but we're not cutting our yarn this time, okay? So what we're going to do is actually go back to the start. We're going to attach our green yarn, which is our second color. Okay. This round, again, we're starting with 2 back loop only single crochets, so we're going to get into this back loop here. Got 2 there. Now we have 1 front loop only double crochet, 5 back, 1 front. Okay, so kind of tricky to see where this front one's going to go. If you see, you have 2 stitches from the previous round that both go into the starting stitch from the round before. So this line it lines up with the first stitch from 2 rows down, so we're going to do front loop only double crochet there. Now the beginnings of these rounds are a lot easier when you're doing the turn method, just so you know. All right, now we have 5 back stitches, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we have a front loop only double crochet, and that's going to go into that chain stitch 2 rows down. And then we have a regular corner. So 1, chain 1, 1. And then we kind of repeat that first side, front loop only double crochet, 5 back stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Front loop only double crochet, and that's going to go in that last stitch 2 rows down. Now we're going to end with 2 single crochets in this last loop right here. Can you see that? See if the camera will focus. There we go. Okay, so 2 there. Pull our loop, but don't cut the yarn. And this is what we have so far. Now, what I'm going to do is, off camera, I'm just going to tie these and cut these short so they're not in the way while I'm showing this process, okay? Okay, we're back. This is not pretty. This is just for the sake of the video. I would never recommend cutting them that short. Definitely better to weave them in. All right, so We have our 2 working yarns. We just finished a green row, so what we're going to do is flip this over, and you're going to start with the white, okay? So how do we start? Well, you're going to start by doing kind of a slip stitch here, pulling your white loop through your green loop. You can tighten up your green loop, tighten up the white one so it's out of the way. Okay, so this takes a minute to get used to, so don't be surprised if it takes a couple attempts. All right, so we are on round 5, which starts with 2 back loop only single crochet. But we are working from the back, which means we are now doing front loop only single crochet, back loop only double crochet. So in this loop, we are going to do 2, oops, let's use the correct working yarn. Definitely start with the chain 1 to make sure everything's snug. Okay, now 2 front loop only single crochets. Okay, next is a back loop only double crochet, and I recommend kind of tilting it forward so you can see where you're going. Now this one's going to go into that first stitch, so we're going to wrap, come down, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay, now we have 1 front loop only single crochet. Should be this one right here. So you can see that we're skipping 1 from the previous row. Now we have 2 back loop only double crochet. So wrap, I'm gonna tilt this forward so we can see where we're going. We're gonna be using these 2 right here, okay? So here's 1. Oops, lost my wrap. There we go. And 2. Okay, now we have 1 front loop only single crochet, 2 back loop only double crochets, and you can see that we have that there. Okay, now we have a front loop only single crochet, back loop double. This one's a little tricky because it's going into that corner, 2 down, so let's find that loop. Okay, now we have a corner, which is a regular corner. Sometimes it's easier to look from the top to see where your loops are. So we have back loop, front loop. If we were looking at it from the right side, from this side, it's front loop, back loop. Okay, so we did our regular corner. We have another back loop only double crochet, 2 rows down. Okay, now we're going to have a front loop only single crochet, 2 of these back loop double crochets, 1, 2, front loop only single crochet, 2 more back, 1 more front. Oh, my cat's going to be helping. Now we have another front loop only double crochet, and it goes into that last stitch here from 2 rows down. And then we have our simple half corner, which would be 2 single crochets in that last stitch, and pull and leave a long loop. Okay, now we go back for our green yarn, okay? And you're gonna pull it through for that chain 1 on your first stitch from the last round. Okay, we are now on round 6, so this is a regular half corner. So we have 2 back loop only single crochets. Again, those are front on this side. So we have a back loop only double crochet. And that's, again, hard to see, but it's going to go into that first stitch 2 rows down. The corners definitely can get a little finicky, particularly with this back and forth method, but you will get used to it. Okay. So that counted for this stitch right here. For this next stitch, it is a front loop only single crochet. Okay, back loop only double crochet, and it's going to go into that same one there, so that we're making a straight line. Excellent. Now we have 2 front loop only double crochets. And you can see, since this one was worked from the back side, these are a little twisted in that they face towards you as opposed to before they were facing kind of away. So just be aware of which loop you are going into. So we have 2 front loop only single crochets. Okay. 1 back loop only double crochet. 2 front loop only single crochets. 1 back loop only. 1 front, 1 back, and then we have a regular corner, which is going into the chain space previous round, which is right here. If you find that you're losing where your chain stitch is from the other rounds, leave a stitch marker in them and then you can catch them easier. Okay, so corner done. Just to show you what it looks like on the front. So you really can't necessarily tell. The stitches are technically in a slightly different direction if you look at this stitch compared to this stitch, but it's really not overwhelmingly noticeable. And there's no ends to deal with, which you saw how quickly those ends were adding up. This, I think, is the faster method, though it definitely takes a little bit of adjustment in the beginning. All right, so, oops, got one of these. Front loop only single, back loop only double, 2 front loop only singles, double. Now I will say, when you are reading from the honestly, the written or the graph, it can be a little confusing because everything is opposite. But if you just make little notations to yourself, it makes things easier. Okay, we are at a front loop only double crochet. Okay, we have a double here. Two singles. Whoops. That's such a habit to go in that back loop. Pull our yarn loose, but don't cut it. Yay, there we go. Let's do one more with this turning method. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this loop up through here. Tighten down on the green, tighten the white a little bit. And now we're back to working from the front side. Chain 1. Okay, we are on round 7. This starts with 2 back loop only single for your half corner. Then we have 1 front stitch, 3 back stitches. Now, this is of note, when you're doing your back stitches now on this first one, they're kind of twisted towards the back, so you may have to tilt everything towards you to see where the back stitch is, the back loop. 2, 3. It just takes a moment to train your eyes, but you'll get used to it. Okay, so now we have a front double crochet, 3 more back, and a front. Okay, 3 back, 1, 2, 3, and a front. I'm just gonna go here. Okay, now we have a regular corner. and repeat that side. Okay, and again, we're leaving that long but not cutting it. So that's round 7 done. Now we're going to do 8. So finding which stitch to put your beginning loops in can be a little tricky to see, especially when it's white yarn. But we have 1, 2, this is a little hidden, and those are your 2 stitches from the half corner from your previous one. So we're just gonna pull through with that, chain 1, and then start in that same stitch with a half corner. Excellent. So what we have for this half corner is both of them are double crochets. So they're both gonna go into that front loop. 2 rows down, 1, 2. Just a reminder, this only counts as 1 stitch. So this counts as stitch 1. Stitch 2 is also a front loop only double crochet, and it's going to go in the exact same one, okay? And that's because 2 of these were the corner, which counted as the first stitch, and that second stitch also had a front loop, and they both were in this loop from the previous round. Now we have 3 back, 1, 2. And you may notice our stitches look a lot more familiar this time around because our last round was from the front. So whenever you're turning over, that first one's gonna look kind of wonky, but then it'll look better on the second one. Okay. Front, back, front, back, front, back, front. All right, 3 back, 1, oh my goodness, 2, 3, okay. Now we have a front loop only double crochet. Remember that goes into that chain stitch 2 rows down, but we also have a double corner, which means instead of doing our single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, and that chain stitch from the previous round, we're gonna do double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then we are going to mirror the instructions from this side. So we start with a front loop only double crochet, 3 back stitches, 1, 2, 3, and I just want to note you're going to end up having 4 double crochets in that stitch whenever it's a double corner that is preceded and followed by a front loop only stitch. Okay. All right, we'll get this side finished. Okay, so just like on this side, you're gonna end up with 3 double crochets in that stitch. So 1, 2, 3. Leave it long, don't cut it. And that is how you can turn instead of cutting yarn every row. And you can see no ends to deal with. How amazing is that? And then when you block it, this will be a complete triangle as opposed to having a bit of a curve. That's just how the stitches are pulled as you go. But when you block it, that will be straight. Okay. And you're well on your way.